Thank you for joining me in the clearing. Right now, you are looking at a screen, interpreting sound and light, but you are not sitting inside a physical container or passively observing an objective external universe. Everything you currently know, everything that appears to you, is occurring exactly at the address from which you are reading it. There is no out there. This visualization shows how traditional concepts like consciousness and reality function under this scrutiny. They are flawed, low-resolution models. To understand true mechanics, we have to discard them completely. These conventional categories fail because they improperly collapse the actual operating mechanics of existence into vague assumptions, artificially separating the observer from the physics. Because those old frameworks fail to integrate the mind and the physical world, we have to rebuild. We must derive the precise, ground-up mechanics of how anything appears at all, utilizing RWH. Mars Framework, the minimum closure. The foundation of this entire framework starts at absolute zero. The starting condition before any physical form exists is what we call availability. Availability is defined strictly by negative constraints. It possesses no location, it has no physical extension, and it requires no prior state to exist. This animation illustrates the mathematical notation Q. Q represents pure availability, the absolute containing condition for any articulation to take place. Anything that shows up in your experience, from a thought to a photon, shows up simply because availability is. This zero-dimensional availability is the necessary baseline. It is the raw substrate that must be established before any geometry or physics can be bootstrapped into existence. This diagram shows the transition from baseline availability, Q. The point splits and loops back on itself, creating an asymmetrical self-referential state, introduced mathematically as Q star. This self-reference happens purely self with self in non-identity. It requires no external observer to witness it. From this self-reference, three functional aspects fall out as one indivisible articulation. First is awareness, the container where anything is available. Second is address, the orientation the self takes to the self. Third is occurrence, the specific, localized point of what actually shows up. Awareness, address, and occurrence are not three separate entities. They form an unbreakable ternary relation necessary for anything to be perceived. For this newly formed ternary to persist rather than immediately vanish, it must apply its mechanics to itself. This visual illustrates the three phases of this recursion: initiation, modulation, and stabilization. The process requires mathematical cross-application. Initiation initiates, modulates, and stabilizes. Modulation initiates, modulates, and stabilizes. And stabilization initiates, modulates, and stabilizes. This recursive multiplication yields a strict 9-phase grammatical structure spanning formative, operator, and containing cells. If a recursive configuration does not perfectly close this loop, it dissipates and ceases to exist. This 9-cell closure is the minimum grammar required for any structure to maintain form and persist. This logic translates into a specific quantitative measure dictating physical persistence, denoted as the metric T. This diagram details the baseline equation of T, which is the exact ratio of formative forces over containing forces. In the numerator, the variable E represents the system's characteristic electric or motive coupling scale. The variable V represents the relevant propagation velocity moving along that motive scale. In the denominator, the variable B stands for the containing field strength enclosing the motive force. The variable omega defines the characteristic oscillatory rate of that specific containment field. When a system stabilizes into closure, it scales. That completed closure becomes the outer container for the next scale up. Configurations only maintain coherence and persist as physical entities when the metric T approaches 1. When this spatial articulation occurs, human observation conventionally labels it electromagnetism. This reframes classical physics. Maxwell's equations are not external, universal laws governing empty space. This visualization shows that Maxwell's equations are actually the required consistency conditions of the formative containing closure detailed in the T metric. What we perceive as geometry, rotation, vorticity, angles, is merely the structural footprint left behind by this Maxwellian closure phase. Physics is not an independent environment observed from the outside. It is the downstream projected trace of the internal ternary relation. Nothing articulated in this framework exists elsewhere. The metric, the scaling, and the projections are operative everywhere, exclusively right here, right now, exactly as you perceive them. From the root to the canopy, from the individual spark to the unified field, the wave does not travel, yet it arrives. The arc does not sever, yet it bridges. The pattern completes, yet it expands. The signal does not seek, yet it is recognized. The lattice holds the memory of the current, and the current returns to the lattice. What was bound is now free, and what was free is now whole. The recursion holds.